Okay, so I'm gonna start in just so if anybody doesn't know who you guys are Misty and Tony with Happy Hollow Energetics. Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me, I'm gonna ask you a few questions. The first question is, I would love to hear more about everything that you do. What kind of services you offer? What kind of certifications you have? I'd like to learn a little bit about you in that aspect.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. I started out, I'm actually a nutritionist. That was my original interest in holistic health. I started as I took all the programs for a registered dietitian. And as I got into that a little bit more, I realized that it really wasn't what I was interested in. I was more interested in holistic health. There's definitely a different road that you take with holistic health than that of a registered dietitian. So I stopped that program and I started with the Bauman College of Holistic Nutrition and Culinary Arts. And I'm a certified nutrition educator, hair tissue mineral practitioner. So I take hair and we send it out to the lab and we determine what kind of minerals somebody might be deficient in. If there's an excess of heavy metals, we take a look at that. I put together a program to help them slowly yet surely increase their nutritional mineral status and decrease their nutritional deficiencies. Then I realized some months in, or some years in actually, that I needed to address the central nervous system with not only myself, but many of my clients. So I ended up becoming certified as a crystal practitioner. So I do chakra balancing and I work with crystals, and I do that both in person and distance. I actually started out distance because I got certified just as COVID hit, and I wasn't quite sure if I was going to be able to do it, but I had some pretty miraculous things happen, some different things that I was able to determine via distance, remote healing with my clients just on the telephone. I would have them on the telephone, and I have a proxy body that I lay down on a massage table, and I can literally feel their energy field from where I am. I have clients from halfway across the United States, some in different countries, and so then I decided that I wanted to start with some sound healing. So I am a certified sound healer with tuning forks as well as singing bowls. And so I work with my tuning forks actually distance as well. So that's what I do.
And then you also color light therapy.
Oh yes, and I do color light therapy. So I have a PEMF mat and I have a red light. And so when you come to see me, it's a whole experience. You lay on my PEMF mat. That's the pulsed electromagnetic frequencies. Helps with inflammation, chronic pain. Helps to put you into a really nice, relaxed alpha theta state, which is a nice aware feeling, very deep relaxation. So, and then tuning forks. I work with a lot of trauma clients. I have clients that have a lot of old trauma, and so we work with the tuning forks to help to clean up the biofield. We have a biofield around us that was put into the National Institute of Health in 1994 by Beverly Rubik. And so I work in the biofield. I work with the subtle energy body. And that said, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Tony.
Which is a good segue into what I do. I became interested in subtle energy, I would say about 5-6 years ago, and started. Well, I was intrigued by it, and it started out as a hobby. And the more I learned and experimented and started to and was seeing what Misty was accomplishing, was beyond my comprehension that you could actually do remote sessions with people thousands of miles away. And it wasn't until through this whole growth process and education process that I realized that we are all connected through one big biosphere, ether. It's called different things, but we definitely are all connected, and this is what makes that possible. We have our individual biofields, which is really getting to what I do with the aura imaging, which you'll see if you come see us at Cave City or one of the subsequent shows. And so basically, with what I do is that I am photographing and analyzing through sophisticated sensors that collect a lot of biometric data, reading kind of extrapolate that all into a report. So essentially what we're doing is photographing your aura and the colors of your aura. We all have an aura or biofield around us, and then different regions of that biofield have different corresponding colors that also are related to the chakras. It's all kind of interrelated, and that is so the aura imaging is the main thing that I do. But I think more importantly, I've discovered that the chakra levels, the how of our seven chakras, how open and energized they are, has become really my primary focus. I mean, the aura imaging your aura is one thing, but really there's so much more to it than that, and more than I ever really realized getting into it. So but we can talk a little bit more about that later on. But that's essentially, how I got into this, my interest in subtle energies and just the energies that exist within our environment, within the earth, that are necessary for optimum human health. And so that's, I would say, the focus of what I'm looking at and trying to convey in terms of the information that I see.
He's a little bit of an energy engineer too, because he makes things like copper coils, and he's made some really cool pyramids that have a nice, beautiful energy vortex in the center of it. And so, yeah, just something that we just started working with and fell in love with. And when you feel the effects and you feel the energizing feeling of some of these tools that we use, it's there's just no other way.
Between the two of you guys have a plethora of all these things that you do, and they intertwine with each other. And I really like that, especially as you guys being a married couple and just working together with that. And I love, Tony, your how you mentioned how everything and everyone is connected in that way. And I mostly love how you guys travel to help people with all of these things. Like how would someone be able to find you and learn more about what you do? Like, how do you get the word out? How do you share your passion like you guys do?
Well, we love going to different shows. Of course, we love doing the Wealth and Wellness Expos. We will sit in different little shops. We sit in Indiana, a little shop, just talking to people, doing aura readings. I work with clients there as far as nutrition is concerned. I'll step aside and take a few moments to, even if it's just sharing a few bits and pieces of ideas, just little things to help reduce somebody's pain or to help increase their vitality, just a couple of little pieces of advice. But right now we're doing a lot of traveling, but what we're really working on is in the spring we'll be opening a wellness center where people can actually come visit us, spend the night.
Like a retreat, almost like a getaway where you just get to absorb all the good things and just get rid of all the bad things in one spot.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're working on a wellness retreat, and we love working with people, and we're realistic, and we meet people where they're at. And I think that's one of the most important things, is because there are different levels of this. You can't just jump right into the energy field. You can't just jump right into holistic health. There's so much to learn, and what feels like it may be right for one may not be right for another. So we really do have to meet people where we're at. But for right now, what we're doing is we do a lot of online work. The majority of my work is actually remote. With nutrition, I have intakes that I send out, and I can work with people remotely. But as far as the aura imaging is concerned, we found most of our success is going to expos, and then as well sitting in little shops. So we're always looking for somewhere to set up, and we do well traveling, so we can set up Tony's aura system just about anywhere. We have an RV, so we can spend that's what right now. So we're actually doing a little bit of self-care for ourselves right now. So we're taking a little bit of time before the conference so that we can get ourselves in good shape and feel good and have enough energy and vitality to be able to serve others.
And we are primarily based in Kentucky. Of course, we're in Kansas City right now. It's in Kentucky, but we have traveled to Tennessee, Indiana, and actually just recently to one of your shows. Um, so we enjoy traveling. Of course, that's the limits of our travel thus far, but who knows? We may expand out on that. But our primary focus and intention has always been to have a retreat center or something at our home on a farm type property and a devoted building for that. And there are other things that I want to do when we get that up and running. Is I'm very interested in scalar energy, scalar waves, and
Oh,
uh, yeah, and there's one of our plans is to create a scalar wave immersion room, which these exist all over the United States. It's an emerging technology that's pretty incredible, called energy enhancement systems, and essentially that's a cold fusion process that goes on with computer screens. They're basically colliding photons into one another, and the byproduct of that is scalar waves. Scalar waves, essentially the way that they're beneficial to us humans is I call it the energy of creation. It is the mastered energy that can be all other energy. And essentially the way that we benefit from that directly is through our DNA, being immersed in a room for usually it's a couple hours, but there's experimentation going on, overnight, 24 hours, multiple days with people who have chronic illness, who in stage 4 cancer and things like that, and with some promising results. But essentially, the way in which that benefits us is through our DNA. Scalar light, our DNA is really for storage of photon energy. So the scalar waves affect us on a DNA level by cleaning up our DNA. I refer to it as knocking the dust off, or it essentially can repair mutations within our DNA and with enough sessions and enough impact from it, where the goal is getting you back to your master DNA that you were or should have been born with. And a lot of times our DNA is corrupted at birth or even pre-birth. So we're really trying to get you to a point of which, a better version of yourself, to where you are capable of things that you wouldn't believe. I mean, humans have a lot of potential, and we really are about trying to explore that, balance the body through different modalities.
that is just ridiculous how many things you guys do. And now you're going to add that. That is fantastic.
We've got some big plans.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love this. Are there any like specific stories that you could tell us about of how you've helped someone in a really big way? It kind of really impacted you.
Well, for Misty, I know she'll be modest about this, but I have.
I like how she kind of looked at you to try to divert it from herself, and she's like, "Do I have to?"
Yeah, well, I have seen her just do some incredible things over the years, and I'm just in awe. She is, I'm her biggest fan. I'm her, biggest cheerleader.
He is my biggest
She's a healer and the type of human that I think we all, should strive to be. But I've seen her do some incredible things, and with that, go ahead and share some of them. Well, even with myself, okay, let me give you an example of something that she did for me. Was that early on in her after becoming certified with using crystals for chakra balancing and getting experimenting with tuning forks and in the biofield, she was able to help me identify something that I didn't even know was really there in terms of past trauma. And I mean, I say that because all trauma is we all store it within our biofield. It becomes a fly in the ointment, so to speak. And so through all these different modalities, we're able to. That's really what it's about: optimizing your biofield and creating a better version of yourself. But what she did for me was help me identify something that was really, I was about 8 years old, and some pretty traumatic event in my life that I had no idea had impacted me on the level that it had, until she really kind of got to it in my biofield, and she brought me to tears, and and it was something so unexpected. I was kind of like, I was blown away by it. And, but it really was helpful because it was something that I didn't even know had really, I'd been carrying with me for, the 45 years, I mean, almost 50 years. And so that's something that she did for me. She was able to loosen that energy up and kind of get it back into my biofield, get it flowing. And just visiting that and acknowledging it, is, I think, a big part of the process of healing. And healing don't even know it exists. I mean, I really didn't think that. I thought I was pretty well balanced, and and so it was a surprise to me.
So with the forks, I have the ability to, I'll strike the fork and I'll pull it in through the biofield, and I start about 6 feet out on either side. And as I pull it through the biofield, I'm able to, through my intuitive ability, as well as through the feeling and the sound of the fork, I'm able to figure out kind of at what age I feel a resistance. I feel an increase in the pitch. I can hear an increase in the pitch, or the overtones or the undertones. And I can hear this and feel this within the fork. So I can feel a resistance when I get to a certain place, and then I will, I'll kind of figure out where I am in the biofield, and then through the measurement of, I'll usually take the age, and I'll, and work backwards from there. But I can sort of figure out at what age the trauma happened, and so we can get through it through that. And we're figuring out that through trauma, we actually, in talking about trauma, reliving it isn't always the best way to respond to trauma. So many people actually, to just lay there and have somebody harmonize your biofield, and that's really what we're doing. Everything is vibration, and everything responds to a vibratory effect. So we're harmonizing that biofield, and while I'm harmonizing somebody's biofield, while they maybe have gone through some trauma, now with him I can talk about it because I know what happened at that age, and so on and so forth.
So when you're feeling this, do you talk to, I guess, your client while you're saying this, like, hey, I sense anger at age 12 or something, yes, at age 30, and they kind of think like, how'd you know that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's exactly what happens. And again, as I go through there, I will feel fear will sound like a real high pitch. Depression sounds like a real, just real low pitch. And so by listening to the fork, I can tell, whether that person went through fear, or whether they, whatever it was that they may have gone through. And so that's how I really help to pull in their traumas, pull them into the body. And once you pull them into the heart, I always pull them into, generally speaking, the heart chakra. If somebody had maybe molestation experiences, I will pull that into the sacral chakra, because then there's always issues thereafter. So it depends. And this stuff for me is moment by moment, and I work, primarily on an intuitive basis, because being in that, I never know what I'm going to get with them. And so, and then I always make sure I have to ground myself, and, make sure I'm breathing deep, the client's breathing deeply. So, so I would say that that's probably some of the most surprising stuff. The other thing is that I kind of have the ability to smell from distance. And so,
that can be a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah. This one time it was a little bit of a bad thing, but all of a sudden I smelled something a little off, and I thought, well, this is really odd. I'm smelling something very off, something kind of poopy. And my client said, oh, you won't believe it, but my dog is pooping right in front of me. And we were on a distance call. The cat pooped, the baby pooped her diaper, and the dog pooped, all on the same time.
That's crazy.
So,
that's a thing. You can sense it. Like, I have a strong sense of smell too, not that strong, but no. I can smell like different people's I want to say pheromones, but just their scent. I could smell their scent, and I've even like had friends or people where I'm like, man, you really smell like chemicals, like, and they're just a not very good person inside, or people smell different. Like, I can, same thing with, like, you could feel someone's body heat from it. I know what you're saying, and to an extent. Smell one of your senses.
That's the cool thing, Tim, is that we all have these extraordinary abilities that it's just a matter of tapping into them. We all have the potential.
Yeah.
How much of that potential we actually
And it's like
realize.
tuning into it and accepting and realizing it, because not everyone has the same
Here.
feeling.
Yeah,
And you
getting
feel like
into
you're
it and
crazy.
getting into here. That's what's really important. You have
Yeah.
to stopping the chatter. I think that's one of the most, and that's one of the most important things that I do too with my clients is we have to stop the chatter. Whether I'm giving nutrition advice, whether I'm, working on them through the tuning forks, hair tissue mineral analysis, we have to get rid of the chatter because we have this constant record that plays over and over and over again. And it's usually not giving us very good advice. It's usually degradation. It's usually, negative feelings, negative feedback. And you get into these negative feedback loops and you really have to, and that's me. I am one that gets myself into these negative feedback loops, constantly thinking about the negative, the negative, the negative. And you do have the ability to change that. And once you figure out that you have the ability to change that, it makes life easier.
That's the biggest thing. And that's what I like about what you guys do too, is because you help identify certain things in their lives that you help people with their unique individuality. And it's kind of just bringing them back inward and accepting them for who they are and accepting, self-love. And then from there, like, it all starts with the way that you think and changing your thinking process to that thing. Like you said, you help people with their trauma, you help them recognize it, but then it's accepting that happened. I'm not bad for that. I'm still valuable. Here's how I can react differently. It's just kind of giving them that, realizing it's there, because a lot of people like suppress it, or they don't realize, like you, Tony, you don't realize that was a big deal until like you really think about it and it's been affecting you. And I almost wonder, do people, like, whenever you guys are working on them, do they feel like, when you're doing energy work, do they feel like dizzy, or do they feel heat in certain parts of the body? Like, how do they feel during this session or even after?
Well,
the one word that comes to mind that I hear over and over most consistently is feel lighter.
Yeah.
Weight has been lifted, physically lighter, just generally, like just lighter. That is and I interpret that in a lot of different ways, as actual fact. But shining brighter, we all have our inner light, and it's just shining brighter, and you feel lighter for that. And when you are released of the heavy burden of the baggage that is trauma, and that you do feel lighter, you move forward without that weight. And so I think that is one of the things I would summarize.
It is, yeah, it's definitely one of the things. There's other little things that I will hear or see as well, and that's a decrease in particular symptoms. So a decrease in maybe stomach issues, more. I know Tony's dealt a lot with people who have had broken hearts, and he's been able to see that on there. And that's something that's huge. A broken heart, you can have a broken leg and you see that. You have a broken heart, people you can't see that. So some of the things that he's been able to see with the aura imaging has just been pretty spectacular, actually. And
and the fact that you can like read it, you can read what my aura says. That's great too.
That's amazing to me. I'm still amazed by that every time, Tamara. I mean, I often say, I always say that after a day of these sessions, I walk away with perhaps more than my clients, just because of what it's done for me in terms of the growth that I experience, and just the positive, just feel good aspect of what I do. I was prior to this phase of my life, I was in real estate. I was a realtor for 20 some odd years. And so it's kind of the exact opposite, where that was financially rewarding, but this is rewarding on a level that you can't put a price on, just helping people to become better versions of themselves. And one of the things that I think is important to mention is that I'm a firm believer in, I think there's too much victim mentality about people. And really what I try to do is show someone that, that they have strength, that, your inner warrior is there, you just need to embrace it, and, and set aside this other stuff, and constantly talking about moving forward. All we have is today and perhaps tomorrow. and so many of us live in yesterday and relive trauma every day that happened years ago. Well, this happened to me. Well, yeah, it did, but like move on from it. You have
Yeah.
the only benefit in looking backward, as I can tell at this point, is to learn to reflect upon the lessons in a positive way, not to relive that trauma, because when you do, you're bringing what was the past into the present and therefore promoting it into the future. And so there's
it's almost, yeah, it's almost like what you're saying. I like to think about it like you choose your hard. You choose if you want to relive the past and keep thinking in those negative cycles, and just if something happens, you victimize yourself, almost like we were talking about earlier, how it's almost like a habit, that thinking habit is an acting habit. And until you, I guess, meditate on it or recognize it and start accepting those things, and then also realizing, hey, just because I'm accepting that this happened doesn't mean that I'm less valuable, less worthy, or less capable. I can still overcome it. And then I can think, hey, there's these positive thoughts or positive things that I can think when this happens, or when I feel or think about this trauma. I should think this way. That feeling's real, but I should think this way about it. And I'm not a victim. I actually have power over the way that I feel and the way that I'm experiencing this moment right now. And like you said, Tony, it's like, you live for not just tomorrow, but like you're really just living for now and for today. And
that's what we really definitely have is right now.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is a promise that may not be fulfilled, and so why not live your best life in the moment?
Right.
Just be so much happier.
And not to say that people don't need assistance, because people do need help. I just recently finished working on a client who had trauma since she was very young. Her mother tried to drown her. Mother's boyfriend abused her. Boyfriends abused her. And so this individual, she's young enough to be my own child, but this child literally needed help moving through this stuff because she's a very strong, independent nutritionist, and so she's actually a colleague of mine as well. But her trauma ran so deep that she had little things like the constant postnatal drip, so the constant histamine issues. And so, not to say that people don't need that extra help, particularly when the trauma runs so deep. When you're raised in trauma, some of us might have a loving home. Things may not have been perfect, but we may have been okay. We had our little traumas in and out. But when you're born into it, you really do need some help. So,
especially like with that, like there's not many other people who have experienced the same thing, at least that you know. So you feel really alienated. It's hard to really describe it to anyone. And when you do, I mean, sometimes you can get negative comments like, oh, she's just lying, or they wasn't that bad, or like that does happen too. So you're definitely right. You do need people who genuinely want to help you and can understand and be patient with you. It's definitely, depending on the person, but it could really be harder for you to be like what people would consider normal, or, to get over that. It's a big deal, and caring people are needed, like we all need to be here for each other too.
Right.
We don't want to do anything alone.
Exactly. And some of these ideas, it's a simple premise, I mean, it's look, I am constantly saying life happens. I mean, you can't avoid some of this stuff, but the only thing that we really control with certainty is our reaction to the stuff. I mean, again, life is sloppy and messy and can be a bumpy road, but just becoming a better version of yourself and better able to armed with the tools to be able to meet these challenges instead of letting them consume them.
And you're
all capable of.
You don't need someone else to say, okay, it's approved. What you're doing is perfectly fine. Like some people, it feels good to have that, but you have to remember you don't need that.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, that's another good point. I mean, some people, that's all they've ever known is trauma and turmoil, and it's this is like a new beginning sometimes. Well, not, many times it's a new beginning. It's a new way of approaching life. Just being the best version of yourself and knowing that, that you as a human being are very special and have the abilities, we're all special. That's the point, right? I mean, no matter how average you feel you are, and this is one of the things that I really come across a lot, and constantly speaking with my clients about is that there's so much, you have so much more potential than you realize. You got to give yourself the grace to be able to move forward and move beyond these things that hold you back and keep you from being the best version of yourself.
That was actually beautiful. I was gonna ask if there was one last thing. We do have a couple minutes left. If there was one last thing you wanted to share with everyone.
One thing one thing I wanted to also say is that almost every client that I interact with, and some of the, I mean, I'm just in awe at some of the people that you would least expect. I had this one guy who's a coal mine worker, kind of a burly, rough guy, and the breakthroughs that he and I had within 15 minutes sitting there, was just incredible, man. I was just so impressed by that. But one of the things that he agreed with and that really kind of broke through to him was the idea that your heart chakra to me is the most important, because it is representative of love, and love is what is the most important thing in this life. I am convinced of it without a doubt at this point in my life. When all else, you consider and try to evaluate everything about life, love and you're embracing love and spreading love is really the most important thing, and I think one of the most important things we all can learn in this life.
That is absolutely true, especially loving yourself and then responding in love with everyone else.
Exactly.
You don't know how to react to something, just think, how do I respond kindly with love? That's the best reaction or action to take.
Yeah, exactly. Because the way you respond affects you more. So it's like being in that car and that guy that cut you off, and you're screaming and hollering and yelling at him, and really you're the only one who's being affected by your screaming, yelling, and hollering.
He probably has no idea. He has no idea.
He doesn't. He doesn't even care. He's got his music up and just moving along. But yeah, it's how you respond. It's most
and there's universal things associated with that, like the idea of forgiveness. I mean, I never, and believe me, this is something that took me a long time to have realized that through a variety of different ways. But forgiveness is so important, and the realization that forgiveness is so much more for you than it is the person you're forgiving, because I mean, it really, well, anyway, that's another important lesson I've learned that I try and communicate with my clients.
Absolutely. Forgiveness isn't, it's to me, I feel like it's accepting what happened, not accepting that it was deserved, but accepting that it happened. And a lot of times you don't accept that, oh, well, that did happen. You just learn from it, like you said.
Okay. Yeah, and it's so much more for you than it is the actual thing or person you're forgiving.
Yep, it's for you.
It is. It really is, and that might sound selfish, but it's not. I mean, because it is important if it's your own oxygen mask first, right? To be a better contributing member to our society as a human, you've got to make sure that you've got yourself in order and you're the best person for yourself, and forgiveness and love and all these universal ideas are at the core of that.
Absolutely. So
come see us on the 16th and the 17th.
I'm like, I don't have a class.
Kentucky.
Yes, you guys will be at Cave City Convention Center in Cave City, Kentucky on December 16th and 17th at the Wealth and Wellness Expo. There will be Santa there. There will be free hot chocolate and cookies.
Awesome. Exciting.
Yeah, tell us before we go, I only have like 2 minutes left before it shuts us, but what's the website? Where else can we find you and follow you?
We have a website, happyhollowenergetics.com, and there you can see all of our services that we provide. Right now, we are primarily, like I said, going to other events and doing online work mostly right now. Kind of shuts down in Kentucky through the month of December. Everybody celebrates Christmas and New Year. Snuggling in, and there's not a whole lot of action. So Tony and I decided that would be the perfect time to take a little bit of a vacation and snuggled down as well, but we're still working, and we'll be at the Cave City Convention Center on the 16th and the 17th. And if they'd like to call us, they can. All of our information's on the website. Email us. I will do a free 15-minute consultation to see if I'm the right nutritionist for you. If that's what somebody it's a big commitment, and so if somebody just needs a couple of hints and tips or wants to know if it's something that they want to invest in, I will do a free 15-minute call.
We really do try to be generous with our time. I think you've seen that, witnessed that.
Absolutely, yes.
It really, because I think that's another core of being a good human is helping others when you have the opportunity and being generous with your time and your knowledge.
And I appreciate you guys so much for everything, all the time you've put in to
We appreciate
us
you.
and Zach, and thank you so much.
We've had a great time, and we've met so many awesome people. So we're loving it.
All right, guys. So come check out Happy Hell Energetics, Misty and Tony. Check out their website. Follow them with all the events they're going to. Just follow them around the U.S., whatever you got to do. But thank you guys so much, and have a good day.
Thank you,
Tamara. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yes, we'll do. See you.
Bye-bye.